teacher?
Yeah, this is it. Greetings, how you doing?
All right, yourself?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just making sure everybody was here.
Oh, okay.
Or whoever's here so I can start the class. How's everything been this week so far?
Same old.
Same old, okay. Anyone have any questions about anything before we get into the subject? Or just anything on last week's subject before we get into this one? Okay. Well, look, this here, this is the last installment of Christ Consciousness. This is named it Christ Consciousness Part 3. Wanted to just go into exactly where are we now in terms of perfection. I think the whole thing now, because we've covered the nine principles, the 9 chakras, we covered exactly what they are. We went from 7 to 9, the aura and everything, and we defined those things. And now it's time to go into exactly where are we personally in terms of transforming ourselves. Exactly where are we within ourselves? You have to at some point look at yourself and realize that all this information about what it takes to get yourself to that level, all of this is necessary for you to get to that level. It's not just casual reading. You know, it is meant for you to make a transformation. If you cannot make that transformation, there's no point in reading it, and there's no point in wasting your time. This is not just something else to do. You know, you have to realize that all of these, for example, all the things that you cross in your life, as I said last week, anything or anybody that you look at in terms of what you would call a human being is an electromagnetic field, or as we would call an aura. And in that level, you would be deemed something that will attract other things to you. And because you're attracting other things to you, you are looked upon as an energy field. And being at an energy field, you have to think in terms of, okay, the things that are surrounding me, physical, spiritual, all these things, your success in life, literally is a measuring stick for where you are from an aura standpoint, or where you are on a vibratory level. Because if you're not where you should be, people can see it, and those that are on a highly spiritual level can see it. You know, you have to now question yourself. At a certain point, right now is supposed to allow you to question yourself. It's not about pointing the fingers at others and saying you're not spiritual enough, you do not chant enough, you don't do affirmation enough, you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't roll your stones. It's not about all of those things. It's about you realizing that at the end of the day, even though you are a part of Papa Ed, which is the all, and all is a part of you, you have to realize that it is still a personal journey. Your mate, your mother, your sister, your son, daughters, all these people who are centered around you because you are still your own specific son, male or female, they are a part of you, but they can't make that journey back with you. It's all personal. So in the level of Christ consciousness, since we are all striving to be on a perfection level of 720 degrees, my father, Dr. Malakazi York, is the only one that we know that encompasses around us in our immediate situation, in our community, to get and be measured based upon 720. There may have been others, but he's the only one that we know that on a physical level. That's why other organizations just think that it's a preposterous number to say you are 720 degrees because they can't define it. They can't see that 7 plus 2 equals 9, you know, on both sides of things. So when you're looking at that, you're looking at a replica of, meaning that you are at that perfect astral level of stepping from the square to the cube, stepping from the circle to the sphere. And so since he was able to get to that level and show you this is a potential that you can get to, potentially you are able to get here. So if you are potentially able to get here, then he's not the only one that can get there. He is a perfected being at this specific time on that level. 720 degrees, 7 plus 2 equals 9. He is at the ninth gate and opening up, waiting for you to get there at the same time, holding with his foot there at that door, waiting for you. Okay, it's time for you to come here as well. And if you're only seeing it from just oh man, I can't get to the levels where he at, then your journey on this long walk on a short path is all for naught, because you have not realized what you ought to do. You are still at what you should not to do. So, and because you're still at that level, and you have not allowed yourself the point of not so much believing, but opening yourself up. Because part of one of the main things that we had problems with in religion was, the biggest thing was belief. To believe in something other than self and kind. And because when you believe in other than self and kind, the person or the people who are teaching you this type of information tells you that it's not possible for you to open yourself up to beings to come to you and to relay messages to you, those that are on a disembodied soul level. Because there are beings that were once human beings that did not make it, that did not pass through on the other levels, on the other side, on a level of ether one. They are still stuck on a certain point. And because they are stuck on a certain point, they're going to have a problem. And their problem is being a disembodied soul. And because being at the level of a disembodied soul, you have a point where if you are opened up, because certain chants, certain exercises that was given was supposed to open you up to where you can now make the exercise to release some of the demons that are within you, that are dormant inside your subconscious mind, that stem from horror movies, crazy things on TV, bad music, everything. All these implantations that we only look at as just being, harmless fun, they are able to help you in a negative way close the gate. And the gate meaning that the gate within self, to be able to be opened up to certain things. Some people are opened up to where when they have dreams, in those dreams people come to them. And when you have that power or that ability, some people end up using it for good or for bad. And that's, when you have these examples like the gypsies and these type of tarot card readings, all these people have had contact with the other side, and they're using it for a negative purpose. Most of it is for a hustle. But in our culture, we have to learn that we have to learn how to push all those things that we thought that was just fun and it didn't make a difference. But what's crazy is that once you come back from watching that horror movie, or once you come back from looking at that TV show that you thought was just harmless fun, those shows and those movies become a part of your subconscious mind when you go to sleep. So when you have people who go through what's called sweat lodges, as Native American societies have what's called sweat lodges. When you're a part of these sweat lodges, they are able to open up and show you when they lay you down, and they're able to pull out what you thought was scary to you. You have people who are afraid of Freddy Krueger to this day, 30, 35, 40 years old, that are afraid of Freddy Krueger. They are trapped in this fear of movies like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But all these movies that were created by the Europeans, by the Caucasians, by the Tamahus, they were created as implantations. This was not just a chance situation. That's why they systematically keep making horror movies to throw you off, to throw your biorhythm off. These are things that for their sixth ether force, for their evil force, they are taking away what makes us nine, and they are pushing us back. They're making us go backwards into their realm of six. So when you allow yourself to only see these situations as harmless fun, then you're going to have a problem. And because you only see it as that situation, or it doesn't make a difference, it's just a movie, it's just that, then that's another ability that you lose of trying to get to the point of contact. Christ consciousness is also a level where that us as human beings, us as Negroes, or us as Nubians or Africans in America, we don't see within ourselves the ability to heal others. And if you look, I have to compare the Christ story to the same abilities that Nubians were told and Africans were told that they could not do, which was heal. And when you look at the likeness of my father, he was also a healer. And he raised himself up to be able to have that ability. And so you have that same ability to be able to heal others. It's called being able to recognize it. You know, amnesia is rampant in the African community because we forgot how to do so many different things that once an individual comes to you and tells you this is what you're able to do, the first thing we do is buck that individual and say, no, you're lying. That's devilishment, that's this, that's that, that's blasphemy, all these different things. But you believe anything that this caveman will tell you. If he tells it to you, you'll believe it. Black person comes to tell you, it's got to be a lie because a nigga done said it. But this information was necessary. Again, all these different abilities that you're describing, what Christ can do or what Buddha can do or Brahma can do, all these names that I named in the first class, you cannot look at these individuals as entities that are above you, that are above mistake, and that are above what the norm can do based upon what your intelligence will allow you to think. You have to get past information and go into affirmation in order for you to see it as an ability that you can do. The part of it is all the words that we use. Realize that when we talk about the slave mentality was meant to keep you down and then to keep your abilities dormant within yourself. So once a person says you have to go from understand to overstand, you think, oh, that's just you playing with words. See, but if a white man said it, you'll believe he said it. If you read that in a white man's book, you won't say a word about it. But the moment someone who looks like you says it, then you don't want to make the contact. That's a subconscious way of disconnecting self from self, or self and kind from self and kind. So those are things that we have to learn to start doing. We have to be able to see the ability within ourselves and not only see the ability with other people. If you are still mentally following others, that's a problem. We can no longer follow. We have to be able to lead, and we have to be able to walk alongside. These are code words that my father was putting out that was telling people this is what you need to do. I don't need followers. I don't need people to do what I do. I need you to learn from me and be able to apply what I was giving individuals. That is something that we need to start understanding, is that you have to look at the information as on a level of him being your sensei and him being the master teacher or the supreme grandmaster teacher to get you to a level where he's like, okay, look, you are here. Now we can take it to the ninth gate. Now we can take it in beyond the black hole. That's where we're trying to get to, and that's what he wanted us to do. It's not about looking at him and saying, I can't do that. Because he never said, I'm the only one who can do this. You can't do it. Get beneath me and get on one knee. That is part of the slave mentality that had to be let go, but we are not allowing ourselves to let go of the follower gene because it's been dormant is no longer dormant. It's now a now. It's went from the subconscious to the subconscious to the now. So now we are acting on it. We're acting on follower traits, and rather than just sit there and look at on just a physical level of looking at all the things that he taught us that we can do, and all the things that all these previous deities were able to do, whether it was I am Hotep, whether it was Mental Hotep, whether it was Zauza, whether it was Amenemhet III, whether it was Asit, whether it was Asad, all these deities, they were able to do things that in European structure are deemed as just magic tricks or devilment to them. You applied all those teachings from his thought pattern into your mind. So you have to, in order to get to that level of 9 as well, you have to let go of his thought pattern that is keeping you down. If you can't let go of that, you will only be at a certain level on a vibratory frequency. You know, you have to apply a lot of things that I am saying as homework to you. How many are gradually letting go of certain music that is vibrating on not on a deep vibratory frequency, as I talked about last week with the oud, as opposed to going on a high pitch frequency, as opposed to a lot of rock music, a lot of rap music, and a lot of music that is detrimental to our soul, because we are soul beings. We are soul and spirit beings and ether beings. And we have to get away from only just being spirit and physical and ether. We have to get into the soul. It was a trick on our minds to allow us to get away from saying the word holy soul. This might sound very trivial to you, but the fact that in Christianity they only taught us about 3s: Father, Son, Holy Ghost. But they left out 2 marks. They left out 2 points. They left out the mother, which is the Blessed Mother. They didn't want to put that in there because then they didn't want to add a goddess, and they changed the ghost from the soul to the ghost. So they had you worshiping an apparition as opposed to worshiping something that is the essence of you. So they took it away from being a trinity. They took it away from being a quadrity, which was what it was originally over thousands of years ago in ancient Talmud or ancient Tanun, and created into a trinity based upon 1 John chapter 5, verse 7 in King James Version of the Bible. So they have, any way they possibly could, allowed us to follow their example. And that follower mentality has to be let go. In order for you to get to that point, you have to let go of the follower mentality, or you will never get back to where you're trying to get to. You understand what I'm saying? Reading the Stargate, the book The Stargate, was meant to be a replica of what you can do when it teaches you of your specific purpose of not just going to see God in heaven, but getting past a certain point mentally and seeing yourself as a ship and being able to travel projectively throughout this universe and throughout all others and throughout this galaxy and continuing to proceed and come back whenever you choose to. Us reading that cannot see that as a possibility, but you have to train your mind to see that as a reality, or it can never be a reality to yourself. If it's only a belief and it's only something that you read of Assad able to do to make a transformation on the other side of things, as he did when he manifested himself to Zhahuti or Zhahuti in Zahuti's time of reverence on one knee. If you only see it from just something that you're reading, you're not really reaping the benefits of this journey and of these teachings, or the spiritual teachings on the other side of right knowledge. That is what we're trying to get to in the science of Nuwapu, is that it is now time to start transforming yourself. It is now time, every little by little, bit by bit, you will lose people around you, your cipher. The sun that you are will get smaller and smaller and smaller. People will no longer look at you as just somebody you can hang out with and get a couple of beers and go chill and get a bite to eat, they will look at you as crazy. They will call you insane because you are now applying the things that you once knew in the past thousands and millions of years ago, the things that you brought to this planet. Because I had the same conversation with a brother last night about, we talked about ancient aliens, and he didn't think that it was real that aliens can bring the science of the pyramids to this planet. I said, but explain to me how they created the pyramids without scaffolds or ladders. Because the 3 pyramids at Giza are the tallest pyramids in existence. So they had to have come from being built from the top down, or as the Black Book says, destruction versus anti-destruction. The process of building something from the top down and seeing a replica that is aligning us with the Orion star constellation, the Orion's belt. You follow? So whoever built it was giving those who were up there already that this is where we are. It was a marking point. And everywhere they were on this planet, whether it be in Mexico, China, America, wherever, Sudan, all over the world, Europe, you have pyramids. So you have a point where we let everyone else know this is our glory and this is where we are. And so this is what we were able to do. Not just what your ancestors were able to do, but you have to look at it as this is not just this is what our ancestors did. No, it's what you did because you are a manifestation of your ancestors. You have to see it as that. You have to truly let go. Also, being able to speed up your vibration, if I did not talk about this before, is changing your diet. You have to now fast more. I know this sounds is going to be kind of scary to a lot of people because a lot of us are fixated on putting things in our mouths to eat, constantly stuffing our faces for just the sheer enjoyment of putting something in our mouth, for just the sheer enjoyment of just eating. We are habitual people. We do things based on habit and based on pattern. You understand? And once we can stop doing that, then we're able to vibrate, but we're able to speed it up. We're not held down by all the things within ourselves. If you don't know what I mean when I say change your diet, then it's time for you to learn your blood type. I'm an O negative individual, so now I have to eat and drink based upon what O negative is, or I'm not eating truly based upon what my ancestors have given me. If I'm not doing that, then I'm not making that specific transformation. I'm not making it into a reality. You understand? So it's now time for us to now fast more. You understand? You have to train your mind to let go. You have to train your mind to relax and let go. If you can relax and let go, then you are on your way. You know, because all the things that, again, seem so important to you, the people who exist in your life, they will come and go. While you are walking on this long walk on a short path, people will come and go in existence that exists within you. But the only thing that is constant is the evolution within self, or the change within self that you have to make. You know, from birth on down to when you're 7 years old, to teenage years, to your early adult years, to from the 30s and the 40s to the point of eldership. You're on a journey, in a spiritual journey, back to where you were meant to be. And so when you're not making those specific journeys, or you're not trying to make that specific journey within self, then you're wasting the time of the master who came to teach you about this, or whatever specific spiritual master you adhere to, and you're wasting the time of self, because self will tell you when it's time, but you can no longer ignore self. You have to pay attention to self, otherwise it makes no difference anywhere. So that is what we have to do, and that's what we must do very soon. Any questions?
Brother, this is Atit. I have a question.
Well.
Okay. I'm a B positive individual. How do you find out the diet for my type?
You can always go online. You just what
okay.
I did. Yeah, what I did was a couple of weeks ago, I just put in diet for O negative, and
Gotcha.
it just came right up. And for me, it told me that I'm supposed to eat meat. I haven't eaten meat in a while, but it said I'm supposed to eat meat, berries, almonds, things that have an abundance of vitamin K, anything with green in it. It was telling me to do that.
Mhm.
It pretty much broke it down exactly what you should not put in. Not a lot of acidic foods. Take away a lot of acidic foods. A lot of It was just time because I was seeing how my body was reacting. You know how your body is. Your body's gonna tell you when something's not supposed to be in there.
Mhm.
I learned that recently. It's just That's all. Yeah, that's all you gotta do because it's gonna give you a list. And just write down whatever you need to do, and then it'll work itself out. It'll definitely work itself out. Because like last week when I went to Sunshine and we talked about the diet and everything, that was one of the first things he talked about is that most of the sicknesses that we occur through our life is funny. He said because we're not going to the bathroom on a regular basis, and so because we like keep in so much of these toxins in our system that all this is starting to affect everything. Like people think that everything is separate, your body, your ether, your spirit, your soul. A lot of us are taught that all this is a separate situation, but they're interwoven like we was talking about last week. As a kundalini is, all these things are together. So if a person is containing a lot of waste in their system, then everything else is going to be contaminated. The decisions you make in your personal life is going to be affected. Like people always make that running joke about a person being constipated. It's like, man, that person's irritable. It's probably because they're constipated. They're not getting rid of the toxins that is like going in their system. He said that to get into practice, if you're not going to the bathroom immediately when you get up, within like, let's say if the average person gets up 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, if they're not having a bowel movement at that specific time, I would say within the first 3 hours, don't eat anything at all. He said because Europeans taught us a ritual of getting up, going out, going get something to eat, and continuing stuffing our faces. Like it's a schedule. We scheduled ourselves to eat at certain points in time, and you have to break that schedule if you really want to clean yourself out and really help yourself. Like even if today, for me personally, I didn't have anything solid. The only thing I had today was water and grapes because I said I don't want to put anything in my system that's gonna just pile on. It's time for me to get myself on a regular basis. All this stuff is necessary. We have to look at it like that.
All right, brother.
Yeah. No problem. You want to have any questions about what's been said or anything else?
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Now I've been hearing about the sun letting off these flares more often than any time in world history. What is all that about?
It's just the time of the summer solstice that we're in now, the solar flares, great balls of fire. All these things are just supposed to come to pass. This is just prophecy. It's not something that is by chance. I've read the same thing, not just in my father's teachings, but just through confirmation that they're talking about this more now online. Most of us mentally have this thought pattern that everything's going to happen systematically because of movies that we watch, like Armageddon in 2012, that everything's going to just boom. But this is all systematic situations. So all these things, it's funny you say that, and it's funny you ask that question, because I remember my father talking about the solar flares and everything happening. He said that once these things take place, you should have already been transformed around you. You already would be interwoven with nature. It wouldn't bother you at all if you already at least are making the necessary adjustments. That's why if you notice, just an example, when the weather changes, it's not, and this is not about allergies, but when the weather changes and when this biorhythm of this planet changes, a lot of people now are getting sicker because nature is going back into where it once was, because it's trying to get rid of what's here that's contaminated, that's contaminating the situation, that's contaminating the earth. And those that are not interwoven with it are gonna have a problem. Black or white or whatever race you are, you're gonna have a problem. So when you're dealing with solar flares, all these things are gonna happen regardless of whether they happen tonight or they happen 2 weeks from now or 2 months from now. They're going to take place. And those that are not transforming themselves, or those that are not trying to make that step back daily, or at least trying to make the step back, because the ancestors will know whether you're making that step back and will protect you at least if you're trying to make the step back. If you just look at this as just casual books, then they will have no care for you. You understand?
Another question.
Go ahead.
Is this solar flares supposed to be manipulating matter on Earth, which is our DNA? Because you were saying Earth is changing, so no. No,
it's manipulating Earth because it's a reconstruction period all over again. Because you're looking at it from now, you have to see it from the standpoint of what we went through before millions of years ago when we talked about the meteorite shower. Not to that full extent, but then I can't even define it because we only hear about solar flares, we only hear about the great balls cast at the earth. We only hear about them, but we're not experiencing them at this present time. So they're going to alter DNA. You have to they're going to alter DNA on a negative level to those that are not altered their own DNA. When the Holy Tablets in Human Beast chapter talks about whole light beings and supermelanin, by this time in our point, we should have already gotten to that point. So now we have to make a speedy thought to speed our physical up to that level. The tools are already in place to do it. We just have to start doing those things. So when you're talking about whether they're going to, alter our DNA, we have to worry about, are we altering our own DNA at this time as well? Are we making that step? Because the solar flares are going to take care of whoever. It's not going to have there's no racial differentiation in that level. There is no racial differentiation. It's just that time to now take its course, for now the sun cycle or the revolutionary cycle to now be in place. It's not just how hot the weather is, it's now literally, because when you deal with the moon cycle that happened over 6,000 years ago, and you had another moon cycle that happened 6,000 years ago, you dealt with, or millions of years ago, you dealt with what was known as the Ice Age, the extreme level of that. And what brought that in was a meteorite shower. And when we were here on this planet, because we were here on this planet as Neolithic or Dogon or pygmy-tide deities, we created caverns within the earth in Antarctica and was able to reside in those taverns or those caverns and was able to create places to inhabit in the center of the earth for years and years and years and years, so that now if we don't know where to go, or if we do know where to go and we're back to that consciousness of where to go, then we're able to get there. But now Antarctica is now being inhabited mostly by Europeans and mixed Asians. So we have to create within ourselves another spot in case we have not made that journey back. All these things are going to take place. You know, the prophecies of this planet being able to replenish itself is not going to hurt you if you are not aware of what's going to happen. Most of us are not aware because religion has now made us unaware of what's supposed to take place. But we have to be aware of what's supposed to take place. You understand?